Good evening. I would like to call the May 2015 board meeting of the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees to order. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call and recognition of visitors. Terri?
Okay. We have no visitors signed in at this time.
We're starting a little early on this board meeting and for the purpose of having an executive session at the beginning of our meeting tonight. So I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing consultations with the board's bargaining, representation, and employer-employee negotiations to protect the public interest in negotiating a fair and equitable contract. This session will last 30 minutes, and no action will be taken during this session. We would like to invite Joe Sopcich, Judy Korb, Barbara Larson, Andy Anderson, Jim Lane, Becky Centelvier, Susan Ryder, Tanya Wilson, and Melody Rail to join this executive session. I would entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Executive session, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The executive session will start at 4:35. If we could ask everybody to clear the room. We'll then come back in 30 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. No action was taken. We are now in our open agenda and the item of the open forum. The open forum section of the board agenda is a time for members of the community to provide comments to the board. There will be one open forum period during each regularly scheduled board meeting. Comments are limited to 5 minutes unless a significant number of people plan to speak. In that instance, the chair may limit a person's comments to less than 5 minutes. In order to be recognized, individuals must register at the door at each board meeting prior to the open forum agenda item. When addressing the board, registered speakers should be respectful and civil and should not address matters related to individual personnel matters with the college. We have one registered speaker for tonight's open forum. He is Marvin Franks. Marvin, I would ask you to come to the podium, and when you get to the podium, if you would state your address for the record. Dr. Sopcich would like to make a few comments, though, before you start, Marvin. So, Dr. Sopcich.
Marvin, thank you and your team for coming out this evening and joining us at our trustee meeting. For those of you who don't know, Marvin is the Central Plains District Area HR Manager for UPS. And we were, I had a lunch with the UPS team that went on for about 90 minutes. And it was fascinating, all the things that UPS, the opportunities that you provide for our students and the way you're working with us. And I thought it was it was so enlightening that I've challenged Marvin to take a 90-minute lunch and condense it into 5 minutes. So Marvin, it's all yours.
No problem. First, I want to say thanks to the President and the Board of Trustees for giving us this opportunity to come in and speak to you. I want to start by saying there resonated a thought back in the 90s that it takes a village. And if you look at that, an aspect of that village today, you'll see students, you'll see educational leaders, you'll see businesses, grassroots organizations. And with that type of design, we have a unique opportunity to really impact the educational process in our country. And having had the time to spend time here at Johnson County Community College, I want to share some things with you that talks about this partnership. The first thing I want to share is the committees that we work on. The Career Development Advisory Board with Leanne Cunningham, the Business Marketing Board with Pamela Hewlin, the Industrial Technology Board with Charles Ranzo, the Business Administration Board with Mike West, and recently the Enactus Advisory Board with Barbara Miller. It gives us a great opportunity to sit and see what goes on the campus and be involved in these boards, but also it gives us an opportunity to provide some feedback to the boards and share experiences that's vital to the growth and development of the students. Some of the work we're doing right now, continuing education with Mike Sonder and Jennifer Winchester, the Center of Sustainability, Jay Antley, the Foundation, Catherine Allen, and most recently, and you guys have something to be proud of, the women's basketball team under Coach Ben Conrad, who won the national championship. So congratulations there. Building a strong partnership from a business perspective. Just to let you know some of the things that UPS has done. April 2014 and just recently, May of 2015, we participated through the Sustainability Center, the tree planting on the campus, where we had several UPSers come out and participate in that event and interact with some of the campus administrators and people from the sustainability group. Activities like this allow us to build community hours. Those community hours lead to the ability to provide a grant to the college. And just to let you know, within less than a 2-year period, through activities like that, the UPS Foundation has given $20,000 to the college for various reasons and various aspects to help the college in different ways. We've also given an additional $5,200 through things like the girls' basketball team, advertising there. Campus Craze, which just took place yesterday that we were a part of, and we look forward to the opportunity to participate that in the fall semester. Nearly 200 of our employees currently are students here at Johnson County Community College. We have performed high school tours where we've gone out to schools and talked about the relationship with Johnson County Community College, and actually selfishly did a little recruiting, and I'll talk about why with the payback to UPS. We're currently having our district people's meeting, and with me I have Tanner Kane, who's one of our division managers, takes care of our Lenexa facility, and Doug Patterson, who's our human resources operation manager, which is our district encompasses 4 states. Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, and the southern portion of Illinois. So you can see we have vast land to cover, and we look for ways to educate our people. But using the continuing education, because of our people's meeting, we're able to have an outside avenue to training and developing our people and creating a skill set and proving their competencies through some of those courses. Our managers are participating in group discussions here on campus. Tanner recently participated in one with Joe where they were able to talk to students. We've also done that in the marketing group. So we ask ourselves, why? Why are we engaged in this? Why is it important to us? And I'll sum it up this way. Education is key to us. We want an educated workforce. But it doesn't just benefit UPS. It benefits other corporations, because as our part-time management training program people that participate in that, our part-time soups leave UPS, they become doctors, they become lawyers, they become business people, and they're able to think about how they proceeded to get to that point. And it's an avenue called education. That's why we're totally devoted to supporting not only Johnson County Community College, but all colleges and universities in that endeavor to educate our communities so that once our people are educated, they can give back to the community. Thank you for your time.
Marvin, I have a comment to make, but for the record, I need to have you state the address of UPS. I know it's Lenexa.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's 14650 Santa Fe Trail Drives, Lenexa, Kansas, 66250.
Thank you very much. Marvin, as I listen to your sincerity and your comments, I want to applaud you and your colleagues in UPS for the diversity of involvement. We oftentimes get people that are very interested in a single aspect of the college or a single program, but you, from sustainability to athletics to your commitment to education and the number of employees you have that are involved at the college is very commendable, and we really appreciate the partnership that you're suggesting, the partnership you've created, and the partnership you want to develop. As Trustee Stewart said earlier this afternoon at a reception for him, it's that opportunity that all students have the hope for to become something different than they are through advanced education. So thank you very much for that commitment. We appreciate it. Trustees, any questions or comments?
One last comment, just so you know, every UPSer is entitled to nearly $5,300 per year, $25,000 during a lifetime for their education. So that means if you go here or any other college, but you work for UPS, we offer you nearly $5,300 a year towards your education. So it's a great opportunity. We try to separate ourselves from the rest of the business world as far as that offer, which I know we do. We have a great package, and we want to make sure people know about it and have the opportunity to use it.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Marvin. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Kane, Tanner Kane. We served together on a panel for a class here. When you drive by that gigantic UPS facility, Tanner runs that, and he is a community college graduate out of Des Moines, DMAC. So great having you here, Tanner. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much. Next item are awards and recognitions. Dr. Sopcich.
For the first one, I'd like to turn it over to Barbara.
Thank you. If you missed this year's Beyond Bounds Electric fundraiser for the Nerman Museum this past October, you missed an evening of wonderful art and fantastic food. The color theme for the evening was a vibrant electric blue, but today we want to recognize 4 individuals for something gold. Our Catering Services Department received the Loyal E. Horton Gold Award from the National Association of College and University Food Services, or NACUFS. The college won in the category of catering for a special event among medium-sized schools. I want to recognize Jay Glatz, Cherry Jenkins, and Jason Arnett from Dining Services, and Christina Bechtel from Marketing and Publications. Jay, Jason, and Cherry and their staffs planned and executed the catering for the event, and Christina designed and presented our application in this submission, and I'd pass it around, but it would make you all very hungry. The Loyal E. Horton Dining Awards celebrate exemplary menus, presentations, special event planning, and new dining concepts in campus dining services. It is the ultimate in college and university culinary arts. Our staff will be recognized at the national conference in July, but we wanted to congratulate all involved, particularly Jay, Cherry, Christina, and Jason. Thank you so much for a job well done.
I'm blessed to work here and blessed to have such a great team, and they're always looking to improve, and hopefully they're going to win that grand prize in July.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jay? A question, Jay. What schools were you competing against?
Boston College, that's the large school, and Fairham College is a small school. So.
Well, thank you.
We're going to get him.
Tonight, we'd also like to recognize the Model UN team. And I had the distinct pleasure of being able to join the team as they competed in a worldwide competition for Model UN. Probably around 3,000 delegates from countries all over the world, and it was an incredible experience to see firsthand what goes into such a competition. I'd like to read a little bit about the team and some of their victories this year. With regard to the 2015 Midwest Model United Nations Conference that was held in February, we received 5 awards. The team brought home an Outstanding Position Paper Award, Outstanding Delegates Choice Award, and 3 honorable mention awards for its portrayal of France. Team members also worked on the Security Council on the topic of international peace and security, as well as on the issues of disaster reduction plus globalization and interdependence. Then in March, a combined delegation from our college and Northwestern Polytechnical University of Xi'an, China, received a Distinguished Delegation Award at the 2015 National Model United Nations Conference in New York City for their representation of the United Kingdom. The co-team also brought home 2 Outstanding Position Paper Awards and an Outstanding Delegates Choice Award, and 4 JCCC team members were chosen for staff positions. What that means is when you walk into one of these gigantic hotel ballrooms and you see 1,000 delegates seated there, one of our students is up on the dais leading the way, which is really a great feeling. I'd like to recognize, and amazingly enough, when they came back, soon after they came back from New York, they hosted a regional Model United Nations effort on our campus. And Brian, how many schools participated in that? 17 schools from over the metro area. and our team was like managing that whole thing. So I'd like to recognize Dr. Wright and call him to the podium.
Thank you. There's a few people I want to thank, particularly my Model UN team, which we'll call up in a minute, but I want to thank Pam Vassar and Terri Kurtz for their help, also Jim Lane and Student Senate in particular, and the foundation. At this point, I would really like to turn it over to our president, Marie Horvat, who would introduce the team.
This one? It's the other one? Okay, there we go. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Wright. My name is Marie Horvat. I'm the president of the Mali United Nations team, actually the outgoing president, and I would like to recognize my team members right now. I'm very, very fortunate as a president going out to have been part of such an amazing team. The new president that I'll be turning the position over to is Sam Asa, if you'd like to stand. Thank you, Sam. Then with us today, we have Megan Fuller, Aaron Swift, Donald Roth, Anima Misashvili, Beric Lee, and I hope I have everyone. Wave at me if I don't. Okay. Just a quick note. Thank you so much. You've taken a little bit of steam out of my speech, Dr. Sopcich.
Sorry, Marie.
That's okay.
It's good to see you behind the podium, though. The last time you spoke to this group, you were speaking from the audience.
Waving around
yes.
frantically, yes. Sorry for that.
The poor eating food.
Yes, that was it. So our awards that Dr. Sopcich has actually read out, they are a great accomplishment, not just to us, but to our school. One of the biggest things that we have to recognize, we are a 2-year institution, considering that we are competing against mainly 4-year institutions. These are some of the best universities around the world. One of them is the Business School of London. Another one is the University of Quebec. We had schools from Paris, from Australia, from countries all over the world, and we were with our Northern Polytechnical University students, and we were able to receive an award that is very, very hard to achieve, considering that we put a lot of effort into it, and we're competing against about 3,000 other students. So having that and really being able to be recognized for this in front of the Board of Trustees as well is fantastic for us, and we hope that you will keep the Mali United Nations team in mind anytime you talk about Johnson County Community College. We're very, very proud of our achievements, and we thank you so much for your attention.
Before you go, I'd like to ask every team member to step up and state your name, what high school you went to, where you're from. So take it away. There you go. And these guys love the microphone, so.
Hello, my name is Megan Fuller, and I went to Mill Valley High School. Is that it?
That's great.
Awesome.
My real name is Suhaib Al-Azza. I'm from Palestine, but they call me Sam here because it's easier. I went to high school back in Palestine. I just moved here a year and a half ago. Thank you.
And also, if you could share perhaps your next steps, your future plans.
Oh yeah, presidency. I hope to achieve what we achieved last year in Chicago and St. Louis in New York, and try to fulfill the position Marie took last year because she did a great job, and I hope to did what she did. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully lead the team to more achievements and more awards next year. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron Swift. I grew up in Olathe, Kansas, and I went to Olathe Northwest. I will be transferring this year to the University of Kansas and hope to receive my bachelor's in international relations. Thank you.
Aaron, what did you do in the military?
I was an intelligence analyst for the United States Marine Corps.
Which came in really handy, didn't it, when you were
Yes,
doing
it
this
did.
work?
I did mostly security and weapons-related issues, so it definitely came in. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Donald Roth. I grew up in Prairie Village, Kansas, and I went to Shawnee Mission East High School. I'm going to be sticking around here for a few more years, so that's my foreseeable future.
Hi, my name is Anima Misashvili, and I'm from Georgia, Eastern Europe. I went to high school in Georgia, but then my senior year I spent in Blue Valley High School as a Future Leaders Exchange program finalist. And then next year I will be transferring to Rutgers University, and I will be studying international business.
Where do you transfer to?
Rutgers University. Mhm.
Hey, thank you for having us over here today. My name is Bear Lee. I'm a homeschool graduate from here in Olathe. Johnson County was my first public school, you should say. After this, next fall I'll be transferring to Tokyo, where I'll be studying international relations.
All right, thank you. Oh, Maria, are you back on?
I was asked by Dr. Cook to actually state where I'm from. I'm actually a German national. I'm from Lingen, a small town in the northern part of Germany. I graduated high school there, and I'll be transferring out from Johnson County to Florida International University in Miami.
Ausgezeichnet.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Can we get a round of applause?
And Dr. Wright, where'd you go to high school, and what do you want to do when you get big?
I'm originally from Old Saybrook, Connecticut, and I think I'm going to be here a few more years. So.
Thank you. One of the statements that I try to live by is never underestimate your opponent. Honor them with your best performance. And it's very obvious that you have honored not only the college, this community, but yourselves and your families with your best performance. We appreciate it. Thank you for the very, very hard work you do and all that you do to represent our college. Thank you very much. I believe the next item on the agenda is Student Senate Report. Mr. Redmond.
Good evening. Student Senate has funded several club initiatives over the last month, some of which would be the Veterans Club, the Students of Kansas Association for Interpreters, Latinos Now and Always. One special student requested funding for an honors contract in which he's done research this last semester, and it will be presented at a national conference. So once again, Johnson County is represented nationally. Senate was able to award its international and out-of-state scholarship for two amazing applicants. Their contribution to the community on campus through their involvement with clubs and organizations was deserving of recognition. Student Senate has also held its campus-wide elections for executive board, and I'm pleased to announce the officers for next year. We have John Rives here in the back for Student Senate President. John Rives is in the honors program and in the chess club. Samantha Ricky Weller for Student Senate Vice President. Samantha was brought to the college for the nursing program. We have Michael Wagner for Senate Parliamentarian. He is an international student and a member of the Engineering Club. We have Vivian Law for Senate Treasurer. She is also an international student and a member of the Honors Program. She was also a winner of the recent math contest that we have for the regional here at the college. That was a pretty big deal. She was able to go on to the regional competition. We also have Carissa Stefani for Secretary. She's also an international student in the honors program, and both Vivian Law and Carissa were executive board members for the International Club. I know that's a lot of international, but in terms of educating, we have in terms of educating Senate, we once again invited Chief Russell to speak to us on leadership and our responsibility to safeguard the community from those who would threaten it. And lastly, I would like to recognize how this community has helped foster a culture that is globally conscientious. In light of recent events that have happened in Nepal, one of our senators, Ada Thapa, took it upon herself to organize a fundraiser in collaboration between Senate and International Club to help raise over $600 to add to the relief effort. But seeing that that wasn't enough, she started a GoFundMe account with a goal of $1,200. We're pleased to announce that that goal was achieved, and in fact, she managed to raise over $2,000, and that number is still growing. It's unfortunate that these tragedies occur, but seeing the way our community comes together in light of such events is something we can all take pride in. And I would like to thank the board for allowing me to represent the student body as I have. The opportunity that this gives me, as well as the numerous opportunities that this college provided me and others, is through the leadership here before me, so thank you. And unless there are any other questions, that concludes my final report to the board.
Trustee Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ask the new student senate representatives that are here, if they could come up and introduce themselves and like do the same thing. Where are you from, and where do you want to go after? What do you want to do after us?
Okay.
Is that?
Thank you. What does Jeff want to do after us?
My name is John Rives. I am the new Student Senate President. I plan to graduate here next year with automotive technology and transfer to Pittsburgh.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Lewisburg.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Redmond.
I would just like to say, Mr. Redmond, that we appreciate your gratitude for thanking us. I think we thank the Student Senate, and we thank you for gaining leadership from you, because leading a student body, perhaps as Trustee Musil could attest to, is really not a very easy job, and because a lot of young ideas and old ideas merging together. So we really appreciate your leadership and the reports you've been giving to us each month. So thank you and good luck to you. Dr. Sopcich.
Jeff, what's your next step?
I'll be transferring to the University of Kansas, pursuing the rest of my mechanical engineering degree. I still have differential equations over the summer, so that'll be interesting. Right after graduation, I'm traveling to Las Pintas, Mexico through the sustainability program, and we'll be installing solar water heaters down there.
Cool.
Are you still?
Trustee Musil and then Trustee Stewart.
Jeff, I just want to thank you for a good year of reports, and I think everybody now knows how hard you work, both at your job and at your student classwork and at your job in student government. I'm looking forward to the day when you get your engineering degree and you can basically retire and work half-time compared to what you're doing now. It's been an honor to have you as the leader of our student body. And I would mention to you and John, when you have fundraisers like that, I wish you'd make sure that the board knows about it too, because I think there are people on the board that would participate in helping those kind of things. So John, next year, if something like that comes up, don't underestimate the staff and the faculty if the students lead some effort like that, because we can do even bigger things together. Thank you.
Trustee Stewart and Dr. Sopcich.
So Jeff, are you still working 10-hour shifts?
12.
12 hours Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah. They got moved to during the week, so I can see my family during the weekend over the summer.
And when you go to KU, are you going to continue that?
We're going to see if I can keep doing that. Right now, they've been more than willing to work with me on my schedule with that, so it's provided a really good opportunity.
Well, congratulations, and keep persevering. You'll be successful. So.
Thank you.
Jeff, what do you do during those 12-hour shifts?
A menagerie, really. Either they need me to weld some parts together, or there's a lot of separate components that go into making a quote-unquote part. So if you've ever seen, what is it going to be? There's these, they're along railroad tracks. Okay, so I don't know what I'm working with here, but there's a lot of industrial parts for Caterpillar or Kenworth, and you see a lot of the trucks driving by, those giant industrial bulldozers. So we'll make like bumpers or other engine parts for that, and so those need to be machined out of chunks of metal.
So you're a welder?
And a machinist, yeah.
And you know how to weld really well?
I wouldn't say that. I don't have as many scars as I used to, but so I'm getting better.
He's making fun of me.
Oh, all right.
I completed an 8-week welding course. And in fact, today I have a welding helmet that I could give you.
Done with that.
In pink, you would really stand out.
Oh, thank you. It wouldn't get stolen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Next item is our college lobbyist report. Mr. Carter has been detained in Topeka with lobbying activities. I think each of you have received his report, and Dr. Sopcich, if you want to highlight a couple of those items, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Very briefly, there are a few points that Mr. Carter makes here through his report. The first is that community colleges seem to have escaped any budget cuts as of today. It should be noted that community colleges really have not experienced any severe budget cuts due to the legislature in recent history. We're very fortunate. We have a lot of support from our legislature, and we hope that continues. The college is also seems to be included in the GED Accelerator program. That our involvement in that has been in and it's been out. We seem to be in at this point, and we'll hope that continues as well. A couple things on CAPERS that would interest us, most of us in here. There's legislation introduced that would change the calculations of accumulated sick leave and vacation time for the purpose of computing a final average salary for employees who are a part of the retirement program. I believe the intention was to eliminate those two components from counting against your CAPER final. That has died, apparently. It's not expected to come back. Local elections. Apparently there was an agreement reached in conference which would move the local elections to the fall of odd-numbered years and keep them nonpartisan. So it's been a definitive move in that direction, and that seems to be hanging in there. But again, we just don't know. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Any comments, questions? You all have the report. Trustee Sharp and then Trustee Cross.
I would just add that the Senate has passed that.
Oh, did they pass
but
it?
The House has not. They can't get the votes. They've moved the vote till next week.
Which of that have they passed?
The moving it to odd years, keeping it nonpartisan, but they can't, and they're trying to whip the votes in the House.
Trustee Cross?
Can anybody here comment on the delay by the legislature to just adjourn? Do we know why?
They have to pass a budget.
I know, but it seems to me that they're waiting on the courts to make a decision. So there's this kick the can down the road by both entities here, and I'm not the best educated or student of Topeka right now, so I'm just asking. Do we know?
The only bill that's must pass every year is the budget.
Yes.
And the courts are really only engaged in the education part right now, and we haven't heard of any moves to make a ruling or issue an opinion on that school issue, and they may wait till the end of the fiscal year. Maybe they may wait till the beginning of the next fiscal year. We don't really know.
Thank you.
But at this point, they're just waiting on trying to cobble together a budget that balances with a $400 million deficit.
So you don't think it's simply the ruling on education, you think it's the compilation of all the revenue?
Well, and the current law, 54% of the budget is taken care of because education is settled with current law.
Okay.
So they're moving forward with the rest of the budget.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Sharp, my sense is that any delays that are apparent are dealing with hopefulness of better revenue sources. And whether that's the revenue projections, the revenue collections meeting projections, which they haven't been for several months. And so that revenue piece is the biggest part of the budget. And you've seen, and we've seen, almost at least twice a week, some new idea about how to generate revenue. The most current one, I think, is raising the state sales tax. And so that seems to me to be the big headache right now, is where are we going to get the money to cover the real and projected gaps that we have in our budget? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. No one is willing to cut any more than has already been cut during the recession, post-recession. So they have a budget number, but revenue is below it by $400 million. So we're not willing to cut the budget down here. We have to figure out how to fill this gap. And you're right, some parts of the income tax plan that was passed in 2012 have been recommended for changing the pass-through income on LLCs, for example. A couple of bills were proposed today to substantially increase taxes on ag land and how ag land is valued for use value purposes. Income tax, sales tax has been debated. Gas taxes, obviously the cigarette taxes and liquor taxes. Cigarette tax has more interest globally, liquor tax not so much. Sales tax, meh. Gas tax also sort of lukewarm. There's not a whole lot of gathering behind any one yet. And not enough people want to change the LLC changes because it doesn't make all the changes that need to happen on the income tax side, so.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask Ms. Sharp a question, Trustee Sharp a question.
Yes.
But even if they undo the LLC tax, it's but a quarter, right, of the money
Right.
that they need?
Right, and that's the point that's being made, is that even if you fix the LLC part 100%, it doesn't make all the changes in income taxes that need to be made to fix the 2012 income tax changes. It's only a little piece of the income tax change.
I sincerely thank the board for the time, and Ms. Sharp, Trustee Sharp, for the time to synthesize
Okay.
this information.
Thank you. Anybody else, any comments? Thank you, Dr. Sopcich. We now go to committee reports and recommendations. The first is the audit. Trustee Musil and I sit in on that audit meeting. We had our quarterly meeting in May, and Dr. Musil will give that report.
Oh, I like that. Thank you. The committee met on May 7th in our quarterly meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning. We started out with a planning session with our new auditors, the Reuben Brown firm, and met the audit team and get an idea of the timetable they will be using to present, to audit the books and then report back to us. We also then had an internal audit that had been done on our vending services and the number of both beverage machines and snack machines around campus. I wish I knew the number, 130 or so different machines. We contract out our beverage services and machines to Pepsi, and the other ones are run by us on campus. And although the total number of dollars isn't great, when you're emptying machines, there's a lot of small bills and small cash that needs to be accounted for. And actually, I think our spillage or whatever was 1.72%, which is below the national benchmark. So overall, we looked good in that, and we are going to change a few procedures to be even better and more accurate in the future. We got a report on something called the Drug-Free Schools Act Enforcement Consistency Policy, to make sure that when we have something related to an on-campus event that involves drug or alcohol, we treat the students that are involved in a fair and equitable manner. And our audit showed that we had, but we are going to beef up some procedures to make sure that is better documented in the future, and we have a more robust process for doing that. Another federal mandate, if I remember right. Quarterly projects update, we learned that there's some ongoing efforts on our purchase card continuous monitoring project and some software that we're looking into that would allow us to determine in advance when our purchasing cards are being misused. Ms. Vogler discussed plans for implementing post-audit surveys so that we can go back to a department we've audited and get some feedback from them as to how our audit team did. We continue to have great cooperation from our departments when the audit team comes in. Nobody's grunching, at least out loud. And in fact, departments on campus are asking the audit department to come in, not only to just make sure they're doing things careful, but to find better policies and procedures. We got status of prior audit recommendations in a grid format that continues to show us where we are on various previous audits. Well, we had an ethics report hotline. Ethics report is our anonymous, or our report hotline where you can report anonymously, or you can give your name about items that you see on campus that you believe are of concern. 6 reports were received anonymously. 2 were entered by a JCC staff member on behalf of another individual. We always receive a report on how many reports we received and how we've responded to those. In addition, Ms. Vogler updated our 2014-2015 benchmarking on our ethics report hotline, and the findings of those compared to this national average, which is not just higher education, but is really a broad spectrum of employers across the country. I'd love to get it to where we're just comparing ourselves to either governmental organizations or higher ed, and I think we may get there someday. But our report volume is consistent with the benchmark given our level of employment. The majority of cases concerned human resources, diversity, and workplace respect, which is consistent with the benchmark. Our rate of anonymous reporting is slightly lower than the benchmark, which I would even like to see lower, because I'd like to see people report it with their name to show that they have trust in the system, and I think what we found is we're better able to respond to those. Our substantiation rate is slightly higher than the benchmark overall. We close our cases in a time shorter than the benchmark, and the majority of our cases come in through the internet, through our web submissions. I just take the opportunity to thank everybody that's involved in Ethics Point. We've tried to more actively promote that and publicize the fact that it exists. It's an important tool on campus. If you think you have a complaint about HR or diversity or workplace respect, or you think somebody is wasting, spending, stealing money, there are places to report that on campus, and so we urge anybody that is part of the campus community to do that. Finally, we also receive a report every quarter on the behavioral intervention team and our Cops Watch team about students and personnel on campus who may be reported as needing some help, usually in the welfare situation, economic welfare or otherwise. And then we close with an executive session, and I'd be happy to try to answer questions. Otherwise, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Musil. Any questions? I would just say that as you hear all of those reports, and it really is, it's an extensive 2-hour meeting, but again, just like the Model UN, they put in a lot of time outside of the effort. I really appreciate, and I think the trustees should know that we have great cooperation with our internal team and with every department. And again, I would reinforce that some departments seek their advice rather than waiting for internal audit to come in. So there's a high level of cooperation that's being developed, and really appreciate the spontaneity in which the issues are resolved when there are some. But you've heard how we have consistently been ahead of the national benchmark in several areas. So thank you, Trustee Musil, for that report. Next item is collegial steering. Collegial steering did meet on Tuesday, May 5th. We really reviewed the highlights of the year, both for collegial steering and for the college. And then we tried to evaluate collegial steering as well. You'll recall that collegial steering years ago was basically made up of members of the faculty association, administration, try and discuss and work through issues that were developing from day to day. And sometimes, historically, maybe some negotiation issues arose, and then all of a sudden collegial steering goes away. But we've put that back together again, and as you know, this year we included the representatives from the Faculty Association, the Faculty Senate, and the Educational Affairs representatives, along with administration. And I think some of the highlights was reference the spontaneity of discussion we had on topics. We tried to put issues on the agenda. In fact, everybody on that agenda could submit ideas for the agenda. And one of the evaluations of collegial steering was maybe there could be a more focused approach throughout the year on certain items. For example, and I believe, and I want to compliment and congratulate the Faculty Association. That's something that was theirs, kind of with the administration. But I would say that Ed Affairs and the Senate are very, it was good to hear the viewpoints of all three organizations on issues. And we have a whole negotiation system in place to take care of it, and we have an agenda item later tonight to deal with that. But I just for one believe that it's important to hear the viewpoints of all of the team members that drive the college. And so when an issue surfaces, each component has a different viewpoint, a differing viewpoint on that particular topic. And I think that helps us understand how this whole operation works. So an example of how I think people felt good about was the goal-setting teams. We have 4 goals and 4 teams, and how faculty got engaged with that process. They're still heavily engaged with that process. They're excited about their individual representation on those committees and how those goals drive our college strategic plan. So while the representation will change over the summertime, there will be new faculty association representatives, new faculty senate, new ed affairs folks, and there will be new trustee representation. I think both Trustee Musil and I agree that from the trustee standpoint, that should be the trustee chair and the vice chair to sit on that, and we'll have those elections upcoming as well. So the next meeting of the collegial steering will be in September, once all of the new assignments come together. But I think at that time, that team then will decide, okay, should we have a more focused agenda throughout the year? And just a lot of good feedback. And again, I would say that the purpose of collegial steering is not to fear differences of opinion, but fear our result to resolve them and to listen to them and hear their viewpoints. So we covered a lot of area, and I'm not giving what we discussed its due credit, but I really feel good about the engagement. The adjuncts, of course, feel good about their inclusion now as part of the Faculty Senate and through the input in Ed Affairs. So We still have some issues, Andy, that have been out there for a long time that we'll continue to study and discuss. And Trustee Musil, anything you want to?
Well, I would just say that the committee has been more and more active and more informative in the year that I've been on it, and I look forward to continuing to grow that next year. The faculty input has been very strong and very good, and frankly, from a trustee standpoint, having the administration involved, because we don't know as much about what's going on here, and so it's been really informative and educational, and piqued my interest in lots of things when you hear the different viewpoints on campus. So I'd thank everybody that's participated in the past year and look forward to working with all the faculty groups in the next year.
Any questions, any comments? Next item is Human Resources, Dr. Drummond. And I believe that you are going to pass the baton to Trustee Sharp. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to give a quick update. Actually, it's not going to be that quick. We did a lot of work this week or this month in HR committee. I have a number of recommendations, and if the board will indulge me, I'd like to break them up into 3 different sections and move all of them together. I'll walk through a brief description of each of them before I do that. We went out for bid on the EAP this year and have decided to go with another vendor than we previously used during the entire time, right? We've always used St. Luke's for the most part for a long time. And we've been reassured by Holmes Murphy that ComPsych, is that what it's called? Yeah, ComPsych will be a good alternative for us. They have hundreds of, sorry, let me back up a little bit. The EAP serves not only our employees, but also the students. And there seemed to be a challenge in trying to make appointments with the previous EAP because of the sheer number of people that we have here, plus they were serving other contracts as well. The ComPsych team has 112, 107, if I remember right, folks who are assigned to take appointments for counseling and the other things that are offered through the EAP. So just the sheer quantity of people that are able to take appointments will help with the caseload. That's the first component. Then the flex benefit is a 0 increase for this year. This really only relates to those folks who are still receiving the flex benefit. Most of the new folks in our Tier 1 have moved off of flex benefits altogether. The 403B contribution is 7% for full-time, basically the same. Retirement, I'm going to add the retirement incentive into that as well. The retirement incentive, I think, is really creative. You see a lot of public entities starting to use this, where when part of what happens when you retire is that your institution will donate up to 1,000 hours to an HSA, which you can then use to pay for your health care that gets you to age 65 when you can get on Medicare. So I think it's a creative way to provide a benefit for all those hours that none of us actually take because we aren't sick all the time. That is a big part of it. Sick leave, there's a certain date time, and you have to be CAPERS eligible to retire. All of this is in the board packet. But I wanted to take those 4 items together, if that's okay with the board.
Are there any objections by any trustee to group them?
Okay.
Proceed.
So this will be the EAP, flex benefit, 403B, and retirement. And I need to read all of those individually.
I don't believe so. I believe we have them in our packet.
Okay. I'm going to hope that everybody can read. We're good at that. So let's see. I move that we pass the board recommendations for EAP, flex benefit, 403B, and the retirement incentive.
Second.
For the benefit of the listening audience, EAP is Employee Assistance
Employee
Program.
Assistance Program.
We used a lot of acronyms and clarify that. Trustee Musil.
I have a question, maybe best directed at Judy, but on the retirement incentive package, we have in there in number 3 on page 3 of the board packet that the participation may be capped and/or deferred. I just want to make it clear that the administration has absolute discretion based on who chooses to try to take that benefit, to cap it or determine who can get it so we don't disrupt departments, make it impossible to fulfill the function of the college.
Yes, we do, and we couldn't list out exactly what that is because we don't know who will apply or how many, but we did build into just the general guidelines and the framework about how we will administer it. That's why it says first come, first considered. It doesn't say first come, first serve. That will happen because it really depends on who applies for it and how would we potentially have to stagger that in order to not have the disruption or to have a transition plan in place or.
So there's no absolute minimum of how many will participate, and there's no absolute maximum. But we have, the administration has the discretion as a management function to determine that.
Right, and we know how many people are eligible. We know that, so we know the total pool number of people that are eligible right now. So we know what parameters we're working with, but we don't know who might be interested in it and who may not. So, but we can work with whatever happens.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussions or questions? Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next one I wanted to talk about is the board and the Faculty Association, the bargaining unit, has come to an agreement on a salary increase of 2.75%. I'm sorry, that's for this is non.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead of myself.
Later in the agenda, but proceed with this.
Okay, this is everyone but those folks I just mentioned. But we are providing a 2.75% increase for all non-probationary and non-bargaining unit salaried and full-time and part-time hourly employees employed as of June 30. And I'm just going to go ahead. I wanted to keep that out separate. It didn't seem to fit anywhere else. It is the recommendation of the HR committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the proposed amendments to the probationary, I'm reading the next one.
That's why you need
Where's
real
the,
paper.
I am looking at the same paper. Oh, there's no motion with the, okay. Let me move back. It is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees authorize salary adjustments equivalent to 2.75% increase for all non-probationary, non-bargaining unit salaried and full-time and part-time hourly employees employed as of June 30, 2015, to be effective July 1, 2015.
That is the correct motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussions? Trustee Stewart.
The 2.75% increase, just to clarify that, is what we will be voting on later on, is the same as the Faculty Association agreement.
I believe that's correct.
The average of the Faculty Association agreement is 2.75.
So, yeah, I just want to make clear that all the employees are getting an average of 2.75% if we end up approving the Faculty Association agreement. We're not treating them differently.
Any other questions? Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Proceeds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next couple I'm going to pull together is the probationary period, resignations, suspensions, discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. These policy changes are more clarifications of definitions as opposed to specific policy changes. They're detailed in the board packet attached. And it is the recommendation of the Human Resources Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the proposed amendments to the discrimination, harassment, or retaliation policy, the probationary period and resignations policy, and suspension, demotion, and termination policy. And I think that is
Are you
it.
including the discrimination, harassment, retaliation in that?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion.
So
Is there a
I so
second?
move.
Second.
You have all four motions stated in your packet. Trustee Sharp has combined them. Are there any questions? Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my, oh, well, we did talk about exit interviews, which is also always a fascinating conversation, looking through the answers to different exit interview questions. Those are taken to heart. I asked if the best ones are shared with the people that they compliment, and indeed they are. So it's always an interesting conversation when we see those, mostly very, very complimentary of the college. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Sharp. I would just say again for the viewing audience that we covered a lot of items: probationary period, resignation policy, suspension, demotion, termination, harassment, retaliation, and policy change. And I would say again that staff puts in a considerable number of hours, and that committee puts in a considerable number of hours dealing with that detail and making the changes in those policies. So I applaud you for the great work you do. There's a lot of work that was done on all of those particular items. Learning quality, Trustee Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Learning Quality Committee met on May 4, 2015 in this room. Trustee Lindstrom, Dr. Sopcich, and Ron Pausick, among others, were present that day. A detailed report is at page 14 of the board packet. And among those who presented that day were Clarissa Craig on affiliation, cooperation, articulation, and reverse transfer agreements. Clarissa presented several affiliation renewals for the next year, as well as 3 new affiliation agreements that will benefit students in both practical nursing and health occupations and emergency medical science programs. Cooperative agreement renewals between JCCC and Metropolitan Community College were also presented. And on behalf of continuing education, Clarissa presented the cooperative renewal agreement for CDL certificate training program for use of the Woodlands for driver training. J.D. Gregg presented the articulation and reverse transfer agreement with Kansas State University at Salina for the pilot flight training program. The degree allows students to take all but one summer semester in Johnson County. JD is also working on reverse transfer agreements with 3 other universities and intends to build all future agreements to include reverse transfer language. Again, detailed agreement information can be found in today's board packet, and it was requested that all agreements be presented today. It was presented that all agreements presented today be moved forward for full board approval. With respect to curriculum, Beth Edmonds, Chair of the Educational Affairs Committee, stated that this year's final meeting was held May 6th, and that the May 4th meeting was her last presentation as President of the Education Affairs Committee. She shared a review of a philosophy course modification due to KCOG alignment and a new study abroad course and deactivations of railroad courses only offered for essentially BNSF employees. Details of this can also be found in the board packet, and it was requested that the curriculum changes recently approved by EA be sent forward for full board approval, which we'll get to in a moment. Lenora Cook, Dean of the Healthcare Professions and Wellness Division, provided a presentation and overview of the programs on and off campus. On-campus programs include emergency medical science, health, physical education and recreation, dental, hygiene, oral health, and health on wheels, and registering nursing. At the Olathe Health Education Center, also known as OHEC, healthcare classes include practical nursing, certified nurse aide, respiratory care, and other health-related courses, many of which will be expanded and renamed, the polysomnography, which is being expanded and renamed neurodiagnostics, is awaiting full K-Board approval at this time and will now be a part of this program. And apparently, the neurodiagnostics is apparently a very popular program. Lenore expects that the AOK program will increase usage at OHEC with students working through adult basic education to earn a GED while they work on getting a CNA license. Also in the works, working with J.D. Gregg to prepare a letter of intent for a public health MA degree, developing a shift-friendly program for firefighter and paramedic training. Joe expressed the appreciation for for the overview and ask that Lenora make this same presentation to the Management Committee in the future. Last couple of presentations, Vince Miller presented a faculty task force, a faculty task force began looking at MOOCs 3 years ago, but discussions were put on hold. Vince Miller was asked to provide, by us, to provide an overview of where we are now. A memo of understanding is being worked on at this time for the hosting of courses on Instructure's Canvas Network platform. And of course, to see available MOOCs at a free venue, you can go to canvas.net. And as an example, Dave Krug, an accounting professor here, some of you might know him, he's musically talented, has several short online videos that include 1/3 of his Accounting 1 course. And he apparently receives a lot of daily emails regarding this MOOC. And his chapter videos have had from 100,000 to 300,000 hits. And Dave encourages those who contact him to enroll in his online classes. And it could become a way to market JCCC online. So I personally asked about the MOOCs, for instance, and there's a lot of discussion on this when one Googles this or reads about it. I think the MOOCs are an interesting way for us to market ourselves. Ron Pausick, ever an authority on everything, said that it's a way to data mine different students. And I think just a way of holding ourselves out in what is a well-known and fairly prestigious community that offers MOOCs. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. I guess I'd ask unanimous consent for everything that we move forward for full board approval with respect to curriculum, the affiliation, cooperation, and articulation of reverse transfer agreements, and yeah, let me see. I think
Trustee Cross, I think all of those items are in the consent agenda, so we'll deal with them at that point.
Thank you for that.
Just again for the viewing audience and to review, and then we'll go to Trustee Stewart. We had a board retreat, and Patrick spoke at length about MOOCs, which are massive open online courses.
Thank you. I didn't.
And it's good to hear that our professors, our faculty are engaged with that. I know that after that workshop, we had comments that they had been. I appreciate your review of the 3-year review.
If I may, just
we go to Trustee Stewart, then back to you.
Yeah, mine was just to clarify what a MOOC was, and also I think one of the biggest failures I've had on the Board of Trustees was the naming of Oh Heck. I wanted to name it the Olathe Health Education Learning Laboratory, and I lost that vote.
Oh, heck.
Oh, heck. Yeah. Trustee Cross.
There was, if I may, Mr. Paulson, could you come forward? We talked briefly about local MOOCs. Was that you and I discussing that day?
Yes, one of the discussions we had when we were looking at this more than 3 years ago was to call it LOOK instead of a book. So it's local open online course. And to really look at the metro area or the greater Kansas area. And if people migrated from internationally, then that'd be fine as well.
I just wanted to present that to the board. I wasn't aware of it. Certainly you all serve on the board longer than I have, and I wanted to raise that.
Well, maybe Learning Quality can address that, and we'll go to Luke's and complement MOOCs.
Mr. Paulson, could you put that together for us at our next Learning Quality?
Any other questions or comments of Trustee Cross?
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Management, Trustee Musil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item from the Management Committee, which met on May 6th, is the adoption of the management budget for 2015-2016. It is not the legally binding budget for the college. That will be approved in August, following a public hearing required by statute. But this budget allows the administration to plan for the 2015-2016 year, including, bringing people back for next year before we pass something in August. We have to start our new fiscal year in July. So, Management Committee looked at this following we had a retreat on the budget, or a budget workshop last month at our board meeting. And we went through the budget in some detail at that time, looking at the mill levy and the revenues, both whether it's tax revenues or tuition revenues or other revenues. The budget that you've seen in your packet beginning at page 18, actually I think it begins at page 17, is essentially the same thing we've seen before, except that with the adoption of the retirement incentive program just a few minutes ago and the ultimate potential approval of the contract with the Faculty Association, we will need to add $1.8 million worth of authority for the budget next year to pay for the retirement incentive program. I think we all understand up here from our prior workshops that cost will come back to us in savings down the road, and we believe that the retirement incentive program will actually result in significant budget savings over the next couple of years. So the only thing that's changed really since we've looked at the parameters before is the addition of $1.8 million in one-time costs for next year. Our assessed valuation has been adjusted to increase by 6.6%. We continue to budget for a decline in state appropriations, hoping that maybe that doesn't happen. And we will have planned to increase tuition rates by $3 a credit hour for next year. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to direct those to somebody who can answer them. I'll do my best. But it is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2015-2016 management budget, subject to adjustments required when final beginning balances and assessed valuations amounts have been determined, and I make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
5-1, or 6-1. Next item. Motion carries.
The management budget, it's in our packet, but the average homeowner in Johnson County with the average value home taxes would increase by $13 next year. Based on the increased assessed valuation, there is no increase in the mill levy planned in the management budget. The next item we considered was two recommendations, request for proposals. The first is a request for proposal for banking services. And the results of that recommendation the results are in your packet beginning at page 22. There were 8 firms responded, 23 firms were notified. The recommended servicer for our bank on a 5-year contract, 1-year contracts with 4-year renewals is U.S. Bank National Association. It is a recommendation of the Management Committee that the board accept the recommendation of college administration to approve the proposal from U.S. Bank National Association for the establishment of an aggregate banking services with an annual fees estimated to be $64,485 based upon projected annual volumes for products and services specified within the RFP, and annual earnings to the college estimated in the amount of $67,500, and I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next request for proposal we looked at was to purchase a simulator, a driving simulator for our police academy. There were 4 firms notified. It's a new RFP, and there were 3 proposals. The recommendation of the committee that evaluated this is for the L3 DP Associates traffic simulator. It is the evaluation criteria included how well the proposals met our technical requirements. The proposer's experience similar nature and scope of simulations. It was determined that the proposal submitted by L3DP would most effectively meet the police academy's requirements now and in the future. It's a recommendation of the Management Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to approve the proposal from L3DP Associates for a police academy traffic simulator in the amount of $112,999.00, and I make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Final recommendation was for an agreement with Kansas City Power and Light to install electric vehicle charging stations. Kansas City Power and Light intends to provide up to 1,000 charging stations in the metropolitan area, and they would provide 6 new ones? 6 additional charging stations here on campus at various locations, which were worked out between Kansas City Power and Light and college staff to try to find locations that work well for them and work well for the campus. It would be for a 10-year term. The college would be responsible for kilowatt usage for the first 2 years, and thereafter it is assumed that state law will be changed and KCP&L will be able to charge you to hook up and probably swipe a credit card or something and pay for your own electricity. The average vehicle charge uses 7 kilowatts 7 kilowatt hours of electricity, which costs about 60 cents. So there will be some cost to the college, about $42,000. I guess $42,000 is a savings, but we will pay some of the electricity for the first couple of years. It's not a significant amount, and we will have the advantage of having 6 additional stations on campus. So it's a recommendation of the management committee that the board accept the recommendation of college administration to enter into an agreement with KCP&L to install 6 electric vehicle charging stations at campus facilities, and I make that recommendation.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Trustee Lindstrom and then Trustee Sharp.
Just a comment. Trustee Musil mentioned that there will be a nominal cost to the college. I believe that cost is around $3,000 over the course of the agreement, so it is a very nominal.
Okay. Trustee Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious, anecdotally, are these spots that are currently there, are they frequently full? Are people using them? What's the
The data shows impressive growth in terms of the hours of usage. The most recent doubling, the most recent year for which we have data, doubled over the prior year. So there is growth. These 6 stations that we're talking about, 3 would be at OHEC, where we have 0 at this point, and then 3 added to the campus. You may have noticed these popping up around. I mean, I've noticed one in the parking lot where I grocery shop. So KCP&L is made this commitment to 1,000 stations, and so approached us about accepting some, and given what's happening both with electric car sales and what we're seeing with our own stations, we'd like to stay ahead of the curve.
And I might add that we did have some discussion about, there will be some administrative procedures that need to be in place so somebody doesn't pull in, park, plug their car in, it's charged in 30 minutes, and they come back from class 6 hours later. So, moving people in and out of the stalls is a problem. I think there also maybe, I don't know if there'll be an issue with non-campus personnel stealing our 60 cents for a charge. I doubt that, but there'll be some administrative issues here. I was a little surprised Jay's not here. I think the report said there were 123,000 pure electric cars sold in the United States last year, which was a low number to me. So Kansas City Power and Light is getting out ahead of the curve, and presumably there will be more of these in the future, and people will be paying for their own energy to recharge their car, but this is a start.
I'm always hesitant to take parking spots that we always hear about.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
In other reports, Rachel Lears provided an update on college investments in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. We also talked about the benefits of refinancing the college's student commons and parking system revenue bond series, which were originally issued in 2006. And bond interest rates are favorable now, so it's anticipated at the June meeting that we'll have a presentation from our bond advisor and bond counsel on refinancing those, which would save the college tens of thousands, maybe I think it was in $40,000 range or something like that, just simply by refinancing. Mitch Borders provided a sole source report as well as a summary of bids awarded between $25,000 and $100,000. The $25,000 to $100,000 is on page 20 of your bid packet. And Rex Hayes gave a monthly update on the capital infrastructure projects, and this is on page 28 of your board packet. That's all I have to report on, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any questions of Trustee Musil? Thank you very much. President, recommendations for actions. First item is the Treasurer's Report. Trustee Lindstrom.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to present the Treasurer's Report for the month ending March 31st, 2015, which can be found on pages 31 to 42 in your packet. Briefly, here are a few highlights. In Section 8 on page 41, please note that as of March 31st, 2015, we had a book balance of $96.7 million, with $16.3 million in outstanding encumbrances, leaving us with an unencumbered balance of $80.4 million. An ad valorem distribution of $1,977,106 was received by the county treasurer in March and was distributed to the general fund, the capital outlay fund, and the special assessment fund. During March, the college made payment 11 of 20 semi-annual payments on Series 2009 certificates of participation. And finally, expenditures in the primary operating funds are within approved budgetary limits. And therefore, it is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the treasurer's report for the month ending March 31st, 2015, subject to audit. And, Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Faculty Association contract, Dr. Sopcich.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. On page 43, we have the term sheet, which is the master agreement between the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees and the JCCC Faculty Association. Before we get started with this, we'd like to recognize the hard work put in by both teams. The administration and the faculty's team seem to have as a constructive experience as possible, and I believe the end result is that we have an agreement that we all feel will work well for the institution as well for all of our membership. So I'd like to recognize the team and also Ron for your hard work too, so thank you very much. On page 43, you can see the first page. It lists all the substantive changes to the agreement. On page 44, there's a recommendation. The last one there talks about the college providing a free jet for the head of the Faculty Association. No, I didn't really see that. But I'd like to read the recommendation. It is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees accept the modifications and ratify the terms of the negotiated agreement with the Faculty Association for the 3-year term from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2018 as outlined.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As we think about any questions we might have, I would just like to, again, for the viewing audience particularly, this process is a 3-year process. A 3-year contract is being proposed. We've just come off of a previous 3-year contract. And the discussions for this term sheet and where we are today is a result of countless hours by both the Faculty Association's team and the college administration team, the trustee team, if you will. And there have been many meetings. There have been executive sessions. There have been where things were discussed. No action is ever taken there, but we're kept up to date. So when we deal with this term sheet tonight, it may again sound to the public like, well, that went by very quickly. But again, I would say that it's the result of many, many, many hours on both sides, both teams, committed to the detail work to get to the point we are tonight. And I again would like to applaud both teams for their efforts, their work, and how we've gotten to this point. Is there any discussion or are there any questions regarding the motion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Before we get started with the President's report, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the college and everyone who works here, we'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for approving this contract. So thank you very much. President's report, we're going to kick this in high gear with the lightning round. And Dr. Korb, you want to go first?
Sure.
Are you
Each
done yet?
Monday, I'm going to be really fast though. Each Monday, we get a report from our IR office on our enrollment and where we stand with enrollment. So this past week, we got our enrollment report for summer, and we're happy to report that we are up just slightly, 0.4, but we take it. And so we're excited about that. Also, another trend that we have been seeing, and it's continuing, is the online enrollment, which is up 5.7% once again. So that is a continuing trend, and we've talked quite a bit about that. But I'm going to ask Randy to come and talk just a little bit about some of the things that we have done in the counseling and advising area to try to help increase this enrollment. So, Randy? Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Weber, please take the microphone.
So real quickly, I guess I'd like to provide just a little more context for the conversation. I was looking and read today, according to the National Clearinghouse report, community colleges this spring compared to last spring nationally were down 3.9%, and we just recognized our college's efforts to be up 1.2%. So we outperformed the national system by over 5% this spring. And so there's a lot of hard work and effort that went into that. So kudos to those who did that. For this summer and fall, though, some of the efforts going on by some of our teams are the admissions and recruitment team spending a lot of time doing some phone calls and some targeted marketing using our, what we call CRM, our constituent relationship management tool. We do a lot of phone calls to applied, not enrolled students, continuing students who have yet to enroll for summer or fall, who we feel should, students who have submitted their FAFSA or ACT scores to us but have not applied. So we have some different student populations that we target, and we try to reach out to them to get them to the next step. In counseling, the 2 weeks that coincided with open registration for summer and fall, we had almost 1,100 students walk in that 2-week period, and we had nearly 400 appointments. So they worked very hard to serve students in those ways, and we also talk about things that they do with their quick question desk, email advising, phone calls, and IMing. So we're really trying to reach students where they are and continue to provide access and quality to them. So I think that's all I've got.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Dr. Larson.
Thank you. I want to highlight all that Rex Hayes and his entire grounds and maintenance crews do to keep the campus so beautiful. This is the time of year we really appreciate it. Since I work with numbers, I'm going to give you some different kinds of numbers. 10,000 bulbs were planted last fall. These include tulips, daffodils, iris, and hyacinths, and we've been enjoying them recently. 2,000 annual and perennial flowers were planted to be in place prior to graduation: zinnias, impatiens, petunias, begonias, and ornamental peppers. Actually, the next, Mr. Franks, our guest, mentioned last month our Center for Sustainability organized a large-scale tree planting activity. This was a second-year grant from the UPS Foundation that enabled us to plant an additional 200 trees, 50 shrubs, and 300 pollinator-friendly species. So thank you to all staff and students and UPS volunteers who participated in that activity. This is the time of year when we see so many families and visitors come to campus, and it is gorgeous, and we appreciate everyone's efforts to get it to that point. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Barbara. Before you, you have the monthly report to the president. This is 34 pages. This report seems to be getting longer, but no need to grimace. It keeps getting more and more substantive as well. And it's really kind of phenomenal when you look through there and you see the accomplishments of our faculty and our staff and the things that they are doing to make this college a better place. What's really interesting, though, if you look at it, is the reporting on just the numbers of students that are coming here, be it continuing ed, be it some of the other things that we do. The outreach efforts throughout our county, throughout the metro region, and throughout the state are really pretty phenomenal, and they're significant. And I think that results in the numbers that Dr. Korb and Dr. Weber have talked about tonight, as we've pretty much held our own with our enrollment and starting to see a reversal in a positive direction, which is really very good. There are some things, though, that I can't resist as far as highlighting. And there is one here from the metal fabrication area, and it's 15 Boy Scouts and 5 Scout leaders from Troop 10, Leewood, completed 4 hours of training at JCCC on Saturday, April 18th, and were awarded welding merit badges. All of the scouts and leaders had a wonderful time and commented that they didn't know that Johnson County Community College had so many different programs, more than just welding here. If you were here on April 24th, you would have attended perhaps the Cavalier Conference on Writing and Literature. This was really a great experience, as we had about 100 teachers, over 100 teachers from local area high schools. These were English teachers in area colleges. The keynote speaker was a gentleman named Professor Ernest Morrell of Columbia University, New York. He was the immediate past president of the National Council for Teachers of English. He was truly inspirational and did an outstanding job speaking to this group. There are some individuals that we'd like to feature here. For example, I'll get notes periodically from different parts of the college that talks about some of their success stories. And this one was from Elisa Waldman, and she talks about Jeff Hansen, our past SBA Young Entrepreneur of the Year. This is from our Small Business Development Center, was featured a few years ago on the CBS Sunday Morning Show nationwide. So it's pretty cool to have somebody featured on a national news program such as the CBS Morning News. Did I say years? okay, excuse me, weeks, I have been known to pull out past accomplishments from years ago and talk about them as if they were yesterday. So regarding, we have a very active event management group here that manages events throughout campus, as well as in the Rainier and the Nerman. This is pretty interesting. From April 2014 to April 2015, attendance saw a 47.4% increase from 5,149 to 7,592. It's a lot of people in this community using that facility. The events increased 11.4% from 105 to 117. So kudos to that group for making that happen. Anita Tebby, a longtime faculty member who is retiring, was recently honored by the Kansas Bar Association with their Distinguished Government Service Award. We all contribute so much of the college's excellence in that field to Anita's work over the years. Free College Day. Free College Day, many of you participated. As you know, this was on April 18th. We offered more than 140 classes on topics ranging from art to science, and we had about 1,000 people register for more than 2,170 sessions. So congratulations to everybody in the campus community that made this happen. The community certainly enjoyed it, as evidenced by a letter to the editor, which I will read. Please extend our thanks and appreciation for Free College Day at Johnson County Community College. I had never heard of the Free College Day until this year. I enrolled in 2 classes with my husband, mother, and mother-in-law. What a beautiful campus, helpful volunteers, knowledgeable professors, and teachers. It makes me really appreciate the extra effort and time, quote, or in parentheses, without pay, that it took to put this on. If you have never taken advantage of this community outreach, you are missing out. It is well worth your time, Stacy Sopcich. Now, that was actually from Deborah Hodnick in Olathe. If you have not picked up your recent ACCT Advisor magazine and flip to page 3, you'll see our very own trustee chair, Jerry Cook, is running for a board position for the Western region. So feel free to vote early and often for this race. And lastly, this is a letter that was sent to me by Jeff Byers. He's an associate professor in our animation chair in computer science and information technology. And this is from a student. Just wanted to give you an update. I got the job. The whole process has been sort of rushed, so I don't know if they ever even checked references, but I still wanted to say thank you. I'm so happy that I attended JCCC and had you as a professor. You gave me the skills I needed to pursue this career. They gave me a great offer. I won't say the amount, but it is a great offer. A year plus, I'm going to get some tuition assistance from them so I can keep going to school too. Can't thank you enough for all the support you've given me over the years. I can honestly say that my time in the JCCC animation program was some of the best in my life, and I will definitely recommend the program to anyone wanting to learn. This represents the incredible effort that many of our faculty and staff here give toward student success. Also, it shows the role of our faculty and the role that they can play when they work very closely with our students to get them on to their next step. So that wraps up the report for this evening. Dave.
Would you, Trustee Lindstrom?
I have a question regarding one of the report, actually 2 of the reports in the lightning round. Dr. Korb, you mentioned that 0.4 overall increase and then 5% online. Is for not the online, we would have been negative though? Is that a correct assumption on my part?
Potentially, but you don't know if those students would have taken face-to-face. I mean, so I don't know for sure, but most likely, if they'd not had the online opportunity, we would be down.
Okay, and then Dr. Sopcich, you referenced, I forget which part of the campus had an increase in
events.
Yes, in the event.
Right.
Do we measure guests on the campus at all, whether it be for events and whether it be for? I know I'm certain that we we measure the number of students each year, because we reference that. But do we measure the number of non-students that visit the campus every year? Is there any way to do that?
You know, for events that we certainly do by the attendance at those events, we monitor that. You also, we have ticket sales in the Carlson Center for the performances. We're on top of that, and also the Nerman Museum will track. But beyond that, it's kind of hard to have a count of anybody who wants to step foot on campus. I mean, we'll have the Japanese festival here, and we'll have 4,000 or 5,000 people, I think. So that's a lot. I would think it's probably safe to say that we have tens of thousands of people, non-students, who come on campus annually, which really demonstrates the role that this campus has in the community.
Just had the powwow.
We had the powwow.
Well, the reason I even asked the question is during the last year, it has become, actually during the last 2 years, most people who come here and who are watching this broadcast know of all the positive things that the college is doing. But I have found over the last couple of years that people, although they have fond feelings about the college, they don't know of all the things that are going on here. And so just building awareness of the things that are going on here.
And Dave, that's really a great point. I don't even know everything that goes on here on campus. There is that much that happens on a daily basis. And even this past weekend, we had the powwow. We had, there were so many things going on this past weekend, or was that 2 weekends ago, that, parking was a challenge. Just the other night, when we had the Michael Feinstein concert, there was also a ballet going on in the Polsky next to that. So we want as many people as possible to be on this campus to enjoy what it has to offer. The challenge is getting it out there to the public that what's going on, and we can work on that. That's something we can work on.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Dr. Sopcich?
If I may, just in case any of Dr. Sopcich's comments are taken out of context, I just had to pull up the organization chart for the college. So in terms of any one person not knowing what goes on here, it's somewhat understandable, and that's why we have lots of talent underneath Dr. Sopcich, just in a paranoid mind that I might have. That when he said, I don't know everything that goes on here. It's understandable. There's a lot going on here.
Thank you, Trustee Cross.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
For having my back. I really appreciate it. So.
That's why
I would just like to comment on a report that Dr. Larson made, and that is the grounds and the campus looking great for graduation. I really would like to thank the staff. I've always felt that the image when you come on campus is very important. And if we had great programs and a lot of dandelions and a lot of weeds, people might say, boy, that's a lousy campus. And but if everything was neat and nice, they'd say, wow, what a great campus, not knowing all the detail that goes on. So I really appreciate your reference to that and all of the hard work, Rex, you and your team and everybody does to keep it clean. I also would like to compliment Trustee Musil because he continually challenges us as trustees to attend all of our graduation ceremonies. And I appreciate that encouragement. I believe we have all of our graduation ceremonies covered. It's not just the big one or the big two now. We have several graduations starting, Saturday and then going on for the next several days. So I want to thank the trustees for signing up to attend those, and I want to thank you, Trustee Musil, for encouraging us to be active in those graduation ceremonies. Do we have any old business? Any new business? Reports from board liaisons. Faculty Association, we were promised last month that Dr. Williams would be here to introduce the new president of the Faculty Association, so Dr. Williams.
Well, thank you, and I'll definitely try to keep it brief. I do feel like I should, in response to the reference to the beautiful campus, as an ecologist, I would say if we had more prairie grasses and more native forbs, it would make the campus beautiful too. But we all appreciate the beauty and the hard work that the landscaping group performs, and so certainly this year is not an exception. Well, here we are, my last report. One job left for me to do, and that is to introduce my successor. And I was thinking he's a man who really needs no introduction, in part because you've already met him, and in part because he's so active on this campus. Of course, most recently, as the co-lead negotiator for the FA bargaining team. And if you don't know quite who he is, perhaps you recall a man with a trademark Hawaiian shirt, a distinctive laugh, a big smile. If you meet Ron once, you remember him. And certainly, I'm sure you'll have the pleasure over the next year and probably more to come, working with Ron with his very different style of leadership than my own. Before I bring Ron up to the podium, I would be remiss not to spend a few moments recognizing our outgoing FA leadership. So I'd like to take a few moments to thank those who have worked with me over the last year, and actually, maybe in all cases, over the last 3 years as FA officers. I'd like to thank Ron this past year for serving as vice president, Jim McWard as secretary, Jeanette Funero as treasurer, Andrea Broomfield for serving as a UniServ rep in the fall, and then Diane Davis stepped up and served as a UniServ rep this spring when Andrea was on sabbatical. I'd also like to say a special thanks to Jeff Anderson. As immediate past president, he served in that role all 3 years of my current presidency. He set the bar high for this role as he was continuously involved as a faculty advocate and an active member of the FA Leadership Corps. He, by the way, will be enjoying a well-deserved sabbatical this fall. So I've been joking to those who've asked me, about how I'm experiencing my post-presidency days that, every day I count off. Well, today's my first day of freedom, my second day. Well, today's my third full day of freedom. Freedom from some of the pressures, I guess, and responsibilities of that role. However, it's also been an opportunity to turn my attention back more fully to the few courses I'm teaching actually this semester, but still a reminder of the profession that I very much love. And sitting in the audience tonight and watching the Model UN students and listening to the student body president and just seeing that every time there's a focus on students, I'm reminded that I chose the right profession. And in fact, I've had some conversations recently with students who are graduating email electronic because I'm teaching all online courses this semester. Worried about their grades, of course, but also worried about if they chose the right career, if they chose the right major. And so I thought about my own experience and how much I love academe, and again, how it's been reinforced tonight. And maybe also by having the opportunity to serve in the role as FA president over the last 3 years, because even in a role that's filled with politics and occasional strife, it was, for me, always about making the experience better for students, for my peers, my colleagues, to make the experience more fair and just. So I think I certainly picked the right career. And so I said to a student in an email recently, how you know you picked the right major or career is ask yourself some questions like, do you find happiness and satisfaction in what you do? Have you earned and kept the respect of your colleagues and peers? Is your work a source of edification, challenge, and growth? Is your life enriched? Maybe enriched as opposed to becoming rich, no. Enriched by the work that you do. There is certainly a distinction between monetary enrichment and other types of enrichment that I would say in some cases is, maybe in all cases, much more meaningful. So I told the student, choose and know that you have other opportunities to choose again. I certainly have. But I found myself in a place where I certainly enjoy being. This also seems to be a natural place to recognize our faculty retirees for their outstanding contribution to this institution, to the lives of students at JCCC, and to the teaching profession. Cody Copeland is retiring, Bob Pinker, Catherine Sawyer, Anita Tebby, and Patty Titus. And so at this point, I'd say congratulations to all of them and thank you for the service that you've provided over the years. But at this time, I'm happy to take any final questions of me. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve before I introduce my successor.
Any questions of Deb or comments? I want to thank you for your service. Again, I think we talked about that last month, and appreciate everything you've done for the association, for the college, and everything you do for your students, Deb, and all the good work you do in promoting the advocacy for the college.
Dr. Cook, if I could, and Deb, it's Dr. Williams, it's been a pleasure working with you over the past couple of years. Your passion, and your zest for expressing your position has always been appreciated, and I know the faculty was well served by your leadership, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we need a drum roll for this?
Maybe so. Maybe we should all. Okay. Well, it's now my pleasure to introduce Ron Palcic. You can say Palcic, Ron Palcic, President of the Faculty Association. So Ron, come on down.
Of course, my grandfather would say it's pronounced Palcic. First, I want to thank Deb for her service to the Faculty Association and for her leadership in helping guiding me as well. And I would also like to thank Jerry Cook for introducing and leading this leadership that we have here. I am the newly elected president of the Faculty Association on campus, and I am honored to be selected to serve for the faculty at JCCC. I would like to introduce the other new officers, members of the Faculty Association Executive Council at this time. And Brian Wright is our new vice president, professor of political science, and the Model UN advisor. So thank you. Also, Dennis Argo is secretary. He's a professor and chair of philosophy and religion. Brett Cooper is our treasurer. He's the assistant professor of math resource center. And Jeff Anderson is our UniServe rep and is a counselor. And oh, by the way, my name, of course, is Ron Palcic, and my discipline is mathematics, where I primarily teach statistics for the mathematics department. We, the faculty, as well as all the staff and administrators at JCC, are very busy this time of year with all of the graduations starting tomorrow, or Saturday, and going through Friday, with 2 nights on Friday night. I'm really looking forward to this coming year and the relationship that we, the Faculty Association, the Board of Trustees, the administration, so that we work to strengthen our goal to make this a better place for our students to learn and grow. And as the JCC mission states, JCC inspires learning to transform lives and strengthen communities. And the faculty, staff, and administrators and board can all work together to obtain this mission. And I also like to, as my final remark, is basically to say I'm happy to announce the vote from the faculty has been completed as of 4 o'clock today. We had a total of 224 yes votes, 13 no votes, for a 94.5% rate of saying yes for this bill. And speaking of inspiring learning and transferring lives and strengthening communities, I wish to excuse myself to attend one of my daughter's Geoscience Award banquet that started at 6 o'clock at Olathe North High School, and I'm going to run over there. They're saving my food. They already texted me. Forgive me for leaving so quickly and abruptly. Any questions?
Mr. Palcic, thank you very much, and congratulations on your election, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Trustee Cross?
Just very briefly, do you prefer Palcic?
Oh, I just, Ron. Palcic is the Americanized version, so we're all real careful with Palcic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go.
Have a good banquet.
Enjoy your daughter's ceremony.
Thank you.
Johnson County Research Triangle, Trustee Musil.
No report.
KCCT, Dr. Cook, no report. We do have our next meeting in June. Anybody that's willing to attend, I think that notice you sent out is come and gone, but we can make accommodations. Foundation, Trustee Cross.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On Tuesday, May 19th, the Foundation's annual luncheon will be held in the gym to celebrate the women's basketball team winning their division national championship. It was an exciting event this past year. This luncheon will also be Stuart Stein's final public act as president of the Foundation. His service will officially end on June 30th, and we will welcome Brad Bergman as president with Mary Birch as vice president. Mary Birch has done a thing or two for the college, I understand. On behalf of the Foundation and the college, I would like to publicly thank Stuart, who has been an outstanding leader for this organization that does so much to assist the mission of the college. Stuart guided us through the very successful launch of Friends with Taste, a membership program to support the hospitality management program, and he oversaw 2 prosperous years of Some Enchanted Evening events, which helped us recruit 2 outstanding classes of new leaders to the Foundation board. I'd like to just publicly please join me in thanking Stuart at your next opportunity. And then finally, Scholarship awarding for the 2015-16 school year is underway. And as this semester wraps up, we will have some great news to share about the 2014-15 scholarship awards at the annual luncheon next week. And for more information regarding the excellent and exciting work done by our foundation and to make a contribution to the future of our students, please visit www.jccc.edu/foundation. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I believe, in the spirit of the foundation, I believe the announcements have gone out for some enchanted evening, and I would encourage the public to look into that. While we maybe have a reputation of selling that event out, please, if you are interested, contact our foundation office, Kate Allen, and we'll make every accommodation. But that's coming up this fall, and but it's not too early to begin to plan for that. Next item is the consent agenda. It's an item on the agenda where we deal with a number of routine items. We deal with these in one large group. Is there any one item a trustee would like to pull off the consent agenda?
Yes.
If not, Trustee Cross?
Under grants 2 and 6, just to pull those off.
Okay, we'll pull off 2 and 6. Do we have a motion for the other items?
He means under grants, not under.
Did you mean under A, item 2 and 6, or?
I'm looking at it, I apologize, I thought I had a handle on it.
You just want number 3 pulled off? Number 3?
It's, with respect to grants, it's the.
Grants, contracts, and awards?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's,
I apologize. The item that's pulled off is item 14A3, grants, contracts, and awards. All the others will stand in a motion. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, Trustee Cross.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the grants for Latino Americans, the grant for, I assume it's for Latino literacy to be, maybe I have it backwards. It's from the National Endowment for the Humanities American Library Association, and then number 6 from the Kansas Department of Education for, I believe it's migrant worker literacy. I just wanted to ask some more questions about specifically number 6, but also 2. What's the interplay, if any, between those 2 grants, and then how will we administer them?
Okay, I may have to find someone else who can explain it a little bit better,
That's fine.
but
didn't mean
I
to
don't,
catch you flat
no,
footed.
that's okay. I don't think that the Migrant Family Literacy Grant is one that we we've done that one over and over. And so that is one that's administered through Janet Blancett's program in the ABE GED. And so it's an adult basic ed grant that we have done multiple times. The other one, I don't know as much about. It's a smaller grant, and it is a newer one. I can find out if there's any connection between those two, but I don't know the answer to that.
There would be there's no formal
Okay.
relationship between the two.
Okay, I didn't think there was.
I appreciate that. I don't mean to suggest that there should be. I just think that it's critical. I live up north, about 83rd and Metcalf, and in the restaurants I go to, there's a growing Latino population that serve our food and cook. And I think in terms of the general population, they know us, love us, but they don't quite know what goes on here. So I think in terms of the social fabric for our county, and then particularly for property values up north, it's critical that we reach out to these people, this segment of the population. And I just wanted to highlight that and comment.
So I guess if I'm hearing you correctly, it's not necessarily a question about the grant, but it's the process of how we market that grant and reach out to all of our counties.
I think it's critical, and I think in times of and perhaps Trustee Sharp could touch on this, in a time of a budget crisis, we've got the Kansas State Department of Education allocating, if I understand this right, nearly $150,000 for this. So I think it's really interesting and in fact exciting, and I just wanted to touch on it.
Any other discussion about that item? I would entertain a motion to approve.
I would move we approve item 14A3.
Second, sorry.
We
Thank
have
you.
a motion and a second. Item 14A3, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would just say before we adjourn that earlier today, we had a public reception for Trustee Stewart. He will be here for the June board meeting, I believe, but again, Trustee Stewart, I wanted to thank you, and you had a lot of friends show up today. I would like to also acknowledge that Trustee Musil did an outstanding job as the Master of Ceremonies, as he always does. Where you came up with all that information, we do not need to know. I would also like to acknowledge that Trustee-elect Nancy Ingram is with us tonight. Thank you, Nancy, for attending. We look forward to your participation in July. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.